Hey guys, it's Zenchu here, and in this video we're going to be doing a One Piece arc tier list. Now, I've been meaning to want to do this for a while now, and even over on my other channel, Monkey the M-Shred, which is a channel I've mentioned before in this video, uh, I've actually never done this, even on that channel. I've never really done a tier list kind of thing, and I see a lot of people doing this, so I just want to make one of my own, a tier list video. So in this ranking of One Piece arc in a tier list, I'm going to be basing this ranking off of moments that I really enjoyed. Yeah, let's just get right onto the tier list. Okay, so starting off at Romance Dawn. Now this is the arc where everything starts in the series. This is the arc when we were introduced to our main character Luffy, who embarks on his journey to becoming the king of the pirates and finding the One Piece. And then we were introduced in this arc to characters like Zoro and Nami, and I also believe this is the arc where he defeats Hand Axe Morgan. My level of enjoyment for this arc wasn't that much, but since I thought the series had a really good start, I actually did enjoy seeing the first episodes of One Piece, and for that I'm going to put this at C tier. Just because the arc as a whole was not really something much to me, but just at the start of the whole One Piece series was really good to me. I really enjoyed the start. Orange Town. Now this is the arc where we get to meet this clown-looking villain, Buggy. Uh, Now I don't really remember much about this arc as well. No, wait, actually, actually do remember a fair number of moments in this arc. I remember Choo Choo, who was a dog who has a tragic backstory, by the way. Um, Apparently a dog who's left by his owner to the mayor to take care of him, because if I remember correctly, his owner had something to do, and that he never came back. Then again, I really forgot why his owner never came back to him, but that's all I could ever come up with my head in the backstory for that dog. And we also have Buggy, like I said, clown, and he was apparently revealed in this arc to be someone connected to Shanks. My level of enjoyment for this arc is, I believe, just about fairly the same level of enjoyment as I had with Romance Dawn. Again, nothing much in this arc happened really hooked me into. But let me just say this before I do continue. Majority of One Piece were post East Blue Saga, including these two arcs. There's a lot in post East Blue Saga that I really didn't enjoy. In other words, I just had a really slow start with One Piece. But for what it is, they're both going to C tier, cause that's. I actually also did like the fight with the Buggy Pirates and Luffy, Nami, Zoro, their fight with the Buggy Pirates. I also actually did enjoy some of the humor in this arc, by the way. I actually did also remember Luffy calling Buggy this big red nose clown. I actually remember that, and I thought that was funny, so yeah. Okay, now, Syrup Village. Now, this is the arc where we were introduced to another member of the Straw Hats, Usopp, who is a character that his whole life he constantly lies to his people in his village. My favorite part about this arc is when Captain Kuro was revealed to be actually revealed to be this threatening pirate that threatens to, if I remember correctly, he had this plan for like years to do something to the village, and if I remember correctly, Captain Kuro was disguising himself as like this waiter or this servant for the character named Kaya, who is also really close to Usopp. and that Captain Kuro was being lied. I mean, Captain Kuro was lying this to Kaya this whole time, and I really thought Captain Kuro was a really good villain. He was manipulative of Kaya. When it is already known that Captain Kuro was was this bad guy, everybody started to take actions, and that is where Luffy and the others had to take down the Kuro pirates. I think I'm gonna put Syrup Village at B tier because I actually did enjoy this arc more than these two arcs here. This is the arc where we are to yet again be introduced to another one of the Straw Hat. He's a cook named Sanji. In this arc, Barty is, you know, this huge restaurant that floats on the seas. And we also get to be introduced to some interesting characters here like Zeph, Redfoot Zeph, all of his co-workers in the restaurant, and I also really thought Sanji and Zeph together had a really nice backstory too. Zeph had to sacrifice his legs in order to save Sanji, I remember that pretty much, and also I really enjoyed the fight in this arc. I really enjoyed the fight with Luffy and Don Krieg. And also I really enjoyed the character Gin, who actually seemed to be a nice guy and that he didn't really want to fight, didn't really want to have to fight them, if I remember correctly, because he owes Sanji a debt for feeding him. His entire crew hadn't had meals in like days ever since they got wiped out by Mihawk. I really did remember that, but overall, I think I'd also put Barty and B tier. I actually did enjoy this arc more than Syrup Village, of course, so I'll just put that slightly above Syrup Village. Okay, now Arlong Park. Now this arc, I believe, is my favorite arc in all of East Blue. Although to be fair, I did have a very slow start with the entire East Blue saga. I think Arlong Park is the best arc in all of East Blue. This arc is where it was actually revealed that, or it actually had a twist where Nami is actually working for this villain named Arlong, and Arlong is this villain where he's like ruling over Nami's village, and I'm not gonna lie, Nami's backstory is also very tragic, as this Arlong guy is just basically made Nami suffer, and everybody in her village also suffer for like, I believe it was like 8 years. 8 years of agony throughout the entire village, man. Imagine that. I also enjoy a lot of moments in Arlong Park. Zoro versus Hachi, Sanji versus Kurobi, and Luffy versus Arlong. Also Usopp versus Two. That fishman where he spits and shit like that. I actually did also enjoy that. And overall, Arlong Park, like I said, Arlong Park is the best arc in all of East Blue Saga, so I'm putting this at top B tier. It's my favorite in all of East Blue Saga. Okay, now, setting into the arc before the Straw Hats officially enters the Grand Line, and that is Longtown. Or this is an arc where it tells a story of Longtown. A town is basically where the Pirate King, Gold Roger, was executed, and this is his hometown, by the way. This is Roger's hometown, Longtown. Yeah, this has actually got a lot of lores to it. And if I remember correctly, we were basically told a lot of stuff from about Roger here, and we are also introduced to characters like Smoker, Tashigi. I actually also did enjoy Smoker as a character here. I really did enjoy Smoker. Smoker's one of my favorite characters in the entire series. I mean, not the entire series, but I really like Smoker a lot. one of my favorite Marines, to be exact, actually. And yeah, I'm going to put this at above Syrup Village. Now, moving to Reverse Mountain. I believe Reverse Mountain is when they're entering the Grand Line, where we are introduced to characters like Crocus, who happens to be a member of the, spoiler alert, I'm going to say this here, that Crocus is one of the Roger pirates. He is Roger's doctor. And we're also introduced to characters like Laboon, also. This huge whale was waiting for a certain group of pirates for years. Overall, this arc is had a really nice, a really good start for the journey in Grand Line. So I'm gonna put this at. Didn't really enjoy this arc much as the rest of the arc here in B tier. So I'm just going to put this at here, in C tier. Okay, Whiskey Peak. Now this is the arc where they. Now Whiskey Peak is the first island they set off in their beginning of the Grand Line journey. This is the island where they first landed in Grand Line. My favorite moment of this arc was Zoro kicking 100 bounty hunters' asses. Like, I really enjoyed that. I actually really did enjoy this arc a lot, that I would probably put this somewhere at B tier. Little Garden. This arc is, I believe, when we were introduced to the two giants, namely Dory and Brookie, and also we were introduced to the villains of this arc, Mr. 3 and that painting girl. I forgot her name. Where would I put this arc though? I'm probably gonna put it at low C tier. That's because I didn't really enjoy this arc. I think this is an arc that I didn't enjoy as much as these arcs right here. Okay, next will be Drum Island. Now, this arc, on the other hand, is a really good arc. This arc is when we are to be introduced to another one of the Straw Hats named Chopper, and he apparently becomes the doctor of the Straw Hats, but after leaving this, his homeland. Drum Island is basically an arc where, at the very beginning of this arc, Nami was sick, so they had to go to Drum Island in order to have Nami's illness treated. I really also did enjoy Chopper's backstory a lot. It was also a tearjerker of a backstory, especially his bond with Hero Look. And for that, I think Drum Island is probably gonna get another nice B tier. Somewhere there in B tier. Okay, Alabasta. Now, so far, Alabasta clears every arc that I've listed on here. Alabasta is an A tier. The first A tier of the video. Okay, so here's the thing. My One Piece journey, right? This arc is the arc where I really got hooked into One Piece. Like, I was like, remember when I said that all of East Blue Saga really slow start for me? Alabasta is the arc where I really enjoyed more about One Piece. This is the arc where I got a lot faster into the series than I actually ever did in the East Blue Saga. I was pretty slow at the start, but this is where I got faster into the series. I remember when Zoro had this sort of like observation hockey awakening in this arc during his fight with Mr. One, and I also do enjoy Ace. This was where the arc where Ace is also first introduced. He was basically said to be Luffy's brother in this arc. Moving on to the next arc to this is Jaya. And the best moment from this arc that I can remember, Luffy one-tapping Bellamy. I thought that was really, I thought that was a really good moment. Putting this at high B tier, somewhere there. Okay, there we go. Next is Skypiea. Now, I hear in all of my One Piece journey, I heard a lot about Skypiea while I was watching One Piece. I see everywhere on YouTube while I was already approaching to Skypiea. I see a lot of people on YouTube saying that you should skip Skypiea, but I didn't. Okay, because I also heard that Skypiea was basically has very important info in this arc that I that nobody should skip, and they were right to call that out. Okay, I'm probably gonna put this at high B tier too because I really enjoyed the Luffy versus Enel, and I also remember that funny face that Enel has. Long Ring Island is the arc about Foxy, if I remember correctly. Now, Long Ring Long Land is, I think, I'm probably gonna also put at the very first D tier. I think Luffy versus Foxy to me is the weakest and I think the most boring fights I have ever been into One Piece. Alright. Water 7. Galilea. Yes, I remember Galilea. This is the arc where... Okay, so this is actually basically the arc where Luffy and his crew goes to Water 7 and finds a shipwright that has to fix the Going Merry. One of the biggest moments in this arc that I remember is when the crew was already breaking apart. Okay, Usopp was denying that the Going Merry can't be fixed anymore, so Usopp had to start a fight with Luffy over the Going Merry, because Usopp really strongly denies over the fact that the Going Merry can't be saved anymore, and I thought that fight was really heartbreaking. It's also gonna be another... Water 7 is also another clean A tier. Our second A tier of the video. Okay? Next is Enies Lobby. Enies Lobby, I would say, would be an arc that I enjoyed, probably as not, if not far better than Alabasta. So I'm just gonna put that the highest of A tiers. Luffy versus Lucci, to me, even to this day, I still consider one of the best fights in One Piece. Enies Lobby, it's just like after Enies Lobby. And one of the biggest things in this arc, I believe, was Luffy's father, Dragon, was being mentioned for the first time, and Shanks' encounter with Whitebeard. Those two are some of the two most shocking moments that I can remember from this arc right here. And it also had some huge revelations and twists, where Shanks was also basically revealed to be a member of the Roger Pirates. I thought that was a WTF moment for me when I was watching that. So for that, I'm putting it at a low A tier, just for those lores alone, or those revelations alone. Okay, Thriller Bark. The nothing happened moment. Now, the nothing happened moment is a moment in One Piece that I'll probably never forget. Never forget. And that moment happened in this arc. That I'm probably gonna put it at a high B tier. Sabaody. This arc, on the other hand, I really enjoyed. Probably somewhere A tier, somewhere there. Yeah, I'll put it there. Now, Sabaody is where we get to be introduced to this character, Rayleigh, who happens to be revealed as the right-hand man of Goldie Roger. And also this, I remember Sabaody was also the arc where the Straw Hats were disbanded. I mean, no, not disbanded. Split apart by Kuma, right? Lily. Now this arc is the arc where Luffy basically lands into after getting sent flying by Kuma or get teleported. But I actually did not enjoy this arc as much as I did. I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna put this somewhere here in B tier. Now I think Impel Down is going straight here. So far so good. Impel Down is the best arc that I've ever listed, of all the arcs that I've ever listed so far. Of all the deadly encounters that Luffy's ever been throughout his journey, I think getting battered by Magellan's venom fruit or whatever that was the closest Luffy's ever been to dying. Okay. Now moving on to Marineford. Now Marineford is probably pretty much a majority of the One Piece community's favorite arc, and this is Marineford arc is the very first arc that I'm going to be putting in the S tier of the video. Now Marineford is such a huge arc. That's right. This is the arc when Ace was about to be executed. The Whitebeard literally doing a lot of damage to Marineford. It used to be my favorite arc, but I'll just get into that later. But right now, Marineford is not my favorite arc. But it's in my top 5. Okay, I'd probably go far to say Marineford is my top 3. Okay, post-war. Where would I put post-war? This is after. I think I just put it at A tier, somewhere in A tier, because this was like after the war. All I can remember about this arc is when Luffy woke up and then had to go through all of that trauma after waking up from Ace's death. So I'll just put that in A tier, or probably in B tier, just because not much happened in this war. I mean, no, not in this war, in this arc. So yeah, B tier for post-war. Return to Sabaody. One of the moments I can remember about this arc, the best moments I can remember about this arc, is Luffy one-shotting a pacifista. Return to Sabaody. B tier. Fishman Island. Now, I hear a lot of people did not like the Fishman Island saga, and I had to agree. This is a low B tier. I did enjoy the fight with Luffy and Arlong. I mean, no, not Arlong, freaking Hordy Jones. But just like a lot of people were saying that Hordy Jones is not one of the best villains. Yeah, I had to agree. Okay, Punk Hazard. Now, Punk Hazard is the arc where you go to this island where it's basically a half island where the other side is really hot and the other side is really cold. It's him saying that Marineford is basically just a warm up of the next biggest thing that's yet to come in the future. Yeah, I would put Punk Hazard at a high B tier too. Dressrosa on the other hand, I think it's an S tier. Another S tier for me. I think Doflamingo is by far the most manipulative and the most villainous character in One Piece that I've yet to encounter so far. Zoroark. I think Zoroark is a clean, somewhere low A tier. It's a pretty cool arc. It's where we get to introduce to a race called the Minks, and well, my favorite thing about Zoroark is the dog and the cat's fight with Jack is always going at A tier. Whole Cake Island. I think Whole Cake Island is an S tier arc because for reasons. Katakuri, really cool. One of my favorite characters in the series, Katakuri. Katakuri's future sight being introduced in this arc was also very cool, and my favorite part about this arc was Luffy versus Katakuri. Okay, Reverie arc now. Reverie arc is the arc when Luffy's bounty was raised to 1.5 billion. Of course, that's a moment that I cannot forget about this arc. I'm probably gonna put this at high beat. No, somewhere in B tier. Somewhere there. And just because I think not a lot happened in Reverie arc, I can't pretty much remember a whole heck of a lot of big stuff that remembered in Reverie. And I remembered in Reverie, but I'll just put it in B tier. Okay, Wano. Now, remember how I said about Marineford not being in my number 1? About how Marineford used to be my number 1 arc, but not anymore? After Wano ended, I said and committed to myself that Wano is the best arc. It's my favorite arc so far in One Piece. At least to me. In the manga, I'd say Luffy versus Kaido is the best fight. But in the anime, I'd go so far as to say Zoro versus King is the best fight in the anime. And there you have it. Wano is my favorite. Also, not just that, but the lore of Wano is also, to me, is what the lore of Wano is to me is both the fights and the lore of Wano is what makes Wano the best arc in One Piece. The last arc we're going to list. Oh, no. Wait, no. The last arc we are going to listen here is an S tier arc. Wait, okay, so I'm basically Wano is there. Egghead would be okay. So Wano, Marineford, and Egghead are my top 3 arcs in all of One Piece, at least for me. The next, I think Whole Cake Island's better than Dressrosa, so there you have it. That wraps up my One Piece arc tier list video. And if you guys have some disagreement with me on my tier list, be sure to comment down below. And comment down some of your favorite arcs in One Piece and where you would rank them. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next anime video. Have a good day and peace.